But let's go on and talk about the Spurs midfield now, because it seems as though Spurs are chopping and changing a lot, the midfield game by game at the moment. And maybe it is down to injuries. Pape Sarr is coming back now. Bissouma's coming back now, with Bentancur not really performing at the moment. James, what do you think Spurs' best midfield trio is?
I think we have to realise that the question itself is good, because we've got that strength and depth back now, and we'll all probably have slightly different ones, I'd imagine, which is a great sign. It's tough. It's very tough because of who to leave out. I think the one bit of good news off it, really, or the strongest bit of good news, is you're going to see, I would imagine, better discipline from Bissouma, knowing that if he gets sent off, will he ever get back in a team? Yeah. Knowing that strength and depth is now there. So I think you'll see one good thing from the back of that. It's Bentancur's not quite hit form, or we go straight in for me. Pape Sarr has been incredible since he's played here, but Maddison's dipping a bit. So yeah, it's all up in the air a little bit for me. But I would imagine the strongest for me, I'd probably to start against Brighton on Saturday. I would probably go Bentancur, Sarr, Maddison. That's what I'd probably go for. So 6, 8, 10 in that way. Purely because I don't think Bissouma's quite there yet. I think he was rested quite. I think he wasn't played quite a lot in the African nations. I think he come on sub quite a lot throughout that. For me, Sarr's been incredible, and I think Maddison is probably, hopefully now, just at least 1 or 2 games maybe away from full fitness and full form. Bentancur, I think, but again, it's the same to what Ash is saying. I think if you keep playing, he will get back into form. You don't just lose that complete magic that Bentancur's got. So, I would go for Bentancur, Sarr, and Maddison, and I imagine bringing Bissouma off the bench. That's incredible. And then it goes back to our first point about why we can't hold on to Leeds, and he's suddenly got that option. That's what I'd go for: Bentancur, Sarr, Maddison, with Bissouma just on the edge to come on.
Ash, what are you looking at for this Sunday? And in general as well, what do you think our best midfield is?
Yeah, no, ditto. I'll echo every comment that James has just made. I think that in the 6, I think Bentancur, he's able to play out from the back, so he helps with our transitional play. He's very confident and slick on the ball when he's fully fit and when he's up to speed as well. And as I said before, sometimes you just need to trust in your better players. Give them time to find form, to find the rhythm, to build those relationships with maybe 1 or 2 players that they haven't had before, and they will come good. Him and Maddison, I'm sure, will be able to figure it out. So for me, Bentancur gives you that steal. A lot of people think, Bentancur should be an 8. And they'll say that about Bissouma. Bissouma should be an 8. But I just feel like in this system, we don't play your traditional roles anymore, in my opinion. This is more positional play. And that's the reason why we were the midfield looks so fluid. At times, we didn't even know who was playing where. I remember against Aston Villa, when it was Lensoso and Bentancur, it looked like a double pivot at times because they were interchanging so much. And even Maddison likes to drop in from deep. Maddison sometimes plays as that deep lining midfielder, and he's creating from further back. Or I remember the game against Burnley, he was playing as a fullback at times, picking up the ball and then working the ball up. And I just like that freedom and players just looking at where the space is and then attacking it. And then if that player is in your position, then obviously I'll jump in your position. And that's what Andrew wants. He wants a system where he doesn't want to dictate. He's not like an Arteta and Conte where they're constantly fingers everywhere, do this, do that. He wants the guys to have the game intelligence, to have the football IQ, the spatial awareness, when to go, when to come short, when to go long. And I feel like that will come naturally, and we'll start to hold on to games and control games a lot better when that happens. And as I said before, and as James has already said, when you've got a Højbjerg coming on, I feel like Højbjerg's looked a lot better when he's come on as opposed to when he's starting. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Put your Bentancur, trust in him because he is good at tackling. Make him the 6. He's a South American. He's tenacious. And sometimes, you know what? Romero will push high up because we play sometimes like a 2-3-5 in possession. and we're in the opposition's half, that you allow Romero to come into midfield and Bentancur to go further up, even as a 6. We saw it with Basuma against Manchester United. He put Casemiro on his back like a beetle, feet were up like a bad bee. Do you know what I'm saying? When he did a little quest inside the box, you're like, raw, how come Basuma so high up the pitch? So I can see Bentancur doing that. I can see Bentancur being higher up in that pitch. Remember, before Bentancur came back, everyone was like, Bentancur's going to take Basuma's place. Watch. Now Bentancur's back. People are like, nah, Basuma's going to take Bentancur's place. Watch. So I just think players just need time. And as we all said, he's coming back from an injury. For me, he's the 6. The number 8 has to be Sarr. Even when he came on, I felt like we improved as a unit. I felt like we held onto the ball a lot more. He knows when to give and when to hold on. He's really good in tight areas. He can play as that fullback and he helps as that transition. And then he carries the ball up in midfield and then he keeps it simple. And when you keep it simple, you don't lose the ball. That's what happens. And then guess what? You get up the pitch higher up that way. You're not rushing it. You're not forcing it. And I think that's what all the scouts saw with Sarr. And they said, you've got a gem on your hands, because he can see the picture really quickly. He can make his mind up when to go, when to play it. And he's just an all-around good midfielder. That's the DNA of what you want in a midfielder. He's going to get those goals, because I'm starting to see him ghost into the box as well now. I'm seeing him to start to pick up those areas where he's having a go. He's having a shot. Do you know what I'm saying? He's got 2 goals already. I'm sure he's going to add to that as well. So his physicality, his tenacity, he sometimes, again, I spoke about that 2 defensive midfielders, or double pivot, I call it, 2 6s, whatever you want to call it. He does that. He can drop in, allow one of the midfielders to go, or sometimes he acts as a secondary marshal in that defensive place. And we need to win the ball high up the pitch. It's important that we win the ball high up the pitch. We do the turnover and we keep the pressure on. And he's really good at doing that. He's got the best of both, like a competitive nature and an attacking nature where he's good in possession. Then we go back to Maddison. For me, people are like, Maddison's looked slightly off it. I think he's looked like our best midfielder, I'll be honest. I love the way he drops the shoulder and he's patient. When the pass isn't on, Maddison won't let it go, you know. Maddison will not, if it's not on, he won't let it go. And he's looking to do the difficult pass. He's not looking to do the sideways pass or play it back. He's in the between the midfield and the defense. He's in that little pocket and he's trying to find a way to sting it into like a Richarlison, sting it into a Kulu or a Johnson, whoever's there. Do you know what I'm saying? And he's that kind of man that kind of threads it all together. And I love his bravery. I like his tenacious ability. And I love him that, you know, he's able to actually shoot. He's one of the midfielders that actually likes shooting. So I like that about him as well. It just wasn't quite coming off for him in the Everton game, especially in the second half. He had a couple of chances that Pickford saved. But I just feel, again, like come Brighton or come Wolves, we're going to see a different Maddison. Each game he's grown in confidence. Each game he's understanding the relationships of his teammates, where they're going to be. And he's getting that, you know, that natural instinct, like that you, because you've been out for a while, you kind of forget what it's like, you know, how the speed of the game is and all the rest of it. He came against Man City. Remember, Man City is a fast game. What a game to come back at. Like, do you know what I'm saying? He's come back. Then obviously we played Brentford. He's gotten a little bit better. And then obviously Everton's come along. And everyone's like, oh, he hasn't played as well. But it's to do with who he's playing with and how much, you know, he can impact that game. He always wants the ball. That's what I do love about him. So for me, the best midfield is, for Brighton anyway, would be that Bentancur, Sarr, and the Madders. Do you know what I'm saying? And I want to see Madders higher up the pitch this time, because I do love the fact that he has got the free roll. He's not like an Odegaard where he has to stay in one position. He roams off to the right. He can roam off to the left. He can drop deep. But I want to see him higher up the pitch, because I just think he's more of a threat when he's up there making those final balls, doing those key passes, or getting shots off at the edge of the box.
Ash, do you feel like we need like a proper specialized 6 in the summer?
I disagree with this appointment. The reason being is because, as I said before, it's positional play. It's no longer your traditional, a 6 stays in that position, the 6 stays there. I feel like before, that argument wasn't there, because Basuma was the highest midfielder with the most amount of tackles, most amount of interceptions, most amount of turnovers. Like, he was doing his job as a defensive midfielder. Everything, all the off the ball actions, Basuma was number one at. So I'm like, well, surely we don't need a number 6 if he's doing all the attributes that we need. But because we're not used to it, we're used to that Conte Mourinho kind of style where we sit behind the ball, and you're used to that 6, or even like an attacking team, you're just used to that number 6 just sitting back and mopping. We don't really do that. We kind of interchange that kind of midfield, and that's the reason why we're using words like fluidity. And like, I know people want, I want that monster 6 that's going to crunch and be a destroyer. No, you need players that also have that technical ability, because if it's just a 6 that destroys, what if he can't go forward? Then how are we going to dominate games? How are we going to kind of like turn teams over, if that makes sense? So in my opinion, I think the 6th position is not necessarily like, we get another competitive midfielder. I don't mind that. I'm not going to say no to it, but they have to be technical.
Yeah, 100%.
Is the problem, because if Højbjerg comes on the pitch, I can't say like, oh, Højbjerg's the most gifted technical player. Does that make sense? 100%. That's where I think that's where we're lacking. So if whatever player, I don't care who it is, just be defensive, be able to win the ball back, but also technicality is a must in that position anyway.
I agree with what both of you say. I think the midfield against Brighton has to be that midfield. Bentancur in the 6, Sarr and Maddison a bit further up. I don't think we have too many options with Bissouma just coming back and he's suffering with malaria. We don't know what state he's coming back in. But having said that, I would like to see us go back to that midfield that we had first 10 games of the season with Bissouma in the 6, Sarr on the 8 and Maddison in 10. I just felt like it gave us so much balance in that midfield. I felt all 3 of them just worked so well together, and we were able to dominate games consistently time and time again. But then again, when we were in that moment of the team, we were like, oh, just imagine adding Bentancur to this midfield. Look how good we're going to be. So I actually think, in terms of quality alone, our best midfield is probably Bissouma in the 6, Bentancur in the 8, and Maddison in the 10. But then again, it goes back to the point about Sarr, because Sarr adds so much balance to that midfield. He does the leg work, he does the running, he's got that energy for everyone. So I think, it goes back to what James was saying. It's such a great problem to have in terms of the options that we do have in midfield. But what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it depends on the opposition a lot. If you're playing, I think if we're talking about just purely best midfield 3, in my opinion, just based on quality, I do think I would love to see what Bissouma, Bentancur, Maddison could do together. I do think Bentancur could do that number 8 role once he's fully fit. We've seen him last season and last season mainly. He can be a midfielder who can cover a lot of ground. He can. He's a very hard worker. He's got a lot of energy, and I do think he's got more strings to his bow when it comes to his on-the-ball ability than someone like Papamate Sarr. Maybe Sarr can develop it. I'm not saying he's bad on the ball, but I just think Bentancur is very best, and we've definitely seen more from him than we have from someone like Sarr. So I do think, in general, that's our best midfield 3. I think our best midfield 3 for now, given people's fitness and stuff, would probably be Bentancur in the 6 with Sarr in the 8 and Maddison in the number 10. But I also think what Ange would really like in terms of technical ability and ability to dominate a game and ability in the final third to just create as many chances as possible and be a real attacking threat would maybe be Bissouma or Bentancur in the 6 with Maddison next to Kulusevski in the centre, or even maybe next to Lo Celso, if he can get them working hard. Yeah, you can argue maybe it could ruin the balance of midfield, but if we could get one of those two, more specifically Kulusevski, because I do think he's
that'd be great against low
hard.
blocks.
That's what I'm saying. If you get against a low block, if you had a Bentancur or Bissouma next with Kulusevski and Maddison, it's going to be very, very difficult to stop for the opposition, because we're just going to have so many good attacking technical players on the pitch that if you can get them working hard and doing the work off the ball to make sure we're not exposed on the counter or going the other way, then going forward when we're putting our passing moves together and we're attacking the opposition, it's like they're not going to know where to look when it comes to trying to stop us. Right now, it's like if you can crowd Maddison out, it's going to be very difficult for us to create an opportunity, because it's difficult to look where else that creativity has come from. Even with Bissouma, Sarr and Maddison, it's good. Don't get me wrong, and it was amazing first 10 games. But if you focus on stopping Maddison, all of a sudden you're looking around, it's like, where's the creativity coming from? But if you have a Bentancur with a Basuma, with a Maddison and Kulusevski next to him, all of a sudden you can concentrate on stopping Maddison, but that's going to leave more space for Kulusevski to operate in, and that's going to add for more chances created. So I think if Ange, in his mind, had a perfect midfield in terms of if everyone was able to do the job off the ball, I think he would want that midfield: Bentancur, Maddison and Kulusevski. Now, the question is, could he get Kulusevski to a level where he's doing the job effectively off the ball enough to not leave us exposed? That's the question. I don't know the answer to that right now. The evidence that we've seen so far, I guess we haven't seen it because we haven't seen Kulusevski next to Maddison apart from the second half against Brentford when it was good. But obviously, at latter stages of that game, we were open and we could have easily dropped points. So we don't know the answer to it right now. I think logic will probably state the balance might be way too far on the offensive side and will be too exposed. But I would love to see, in general, that midfield and how it would operate, because if he gets the balance right, that midfield would be very difficult to stop.
It would be I mean, you couldn't play that midfield surely against like a Man City or Arsenal or someone like that.
I mean, logically, no. But it probably not. But it depends. It depends how good they can be. Like, we've seen Man City, like, at their very best, like, in peak Pep years, they would play with two number 8s, two very attacking number 8s, and they would play Fernandinho, and then they played Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva. It was just they were so good, and also Kevin De Bruyne didn't have that lack of balance off the ball. He would put the hard yards in, and he had the fitness and the quality to cope with that position. So it meant they weren't exposed defensively.
They have the best CDM in Rodri in the league in that midfield. That's
the thing. Them. So it's about the balance. It's about whether Basuma can cope with it, whether Bentancur could cope with it, and whether Kulusevski would be able to do that off the ball. But I don't think necessarily tactically, like they wouldn't like it that. Tactic of two number 8s, two attacking number 8s wouldn't work. It's about the characteristics and whether they have those characteristics. I'm not 100% sure they do, but they might do. That
brings me back to the point I asked Ash then. Like, if we were to go that way and we had Maddison and Kulusevski in the midfield, would we not need like a specialised 6 behind them to protect them?
It's whether Basuma and Bentancur could do that job. Do we need a specialised 6? I think they can do the job, to be honest. I do think they can do the job. Obviously, they might have to cover a bit more ground, but I think they're capable of it once they're both fully fit and on form. I don't see a reason why they can't. Are they on Rodri's level? I mean, who is? But I think I don't see a reason why Basuma and Bentancur wouldn't be able to do that number 6 job if Maddison and Kulusevski are doing their jobs off the ball they should be doing. Look, Silva and De Bruyne didn't just leave Fernandinho or Rodri to do it by themselves. They helped him out as well, and that's what you need to do. So it's about where Maddison and Kulusevski have the characteristics as well to do that. I do think Bentancur and Basuma can do it. I do.
I tend to agree, because it's not like we haven't seen Maddison, do defensive jobs off the ball. I know it might not to be like people.
He's very underrated at that.
That's what I'm saying to you. So Maddison off the ball, he is quite defensive. He tries to win the ball back. He's tenacious. I think Kulusevski does a lot of leg work, and when he was playing on the right wing, especially, he helps pour out a huge amount. Do you know what I'm saying? He does a lot of defensive work, and even in the middle, I think he is tenacious. He can win the ball back, and even Lo Celso, as much as people throw him under the bus, he's very tenacious. So I could actually see, like, I agree with Sim. If you've had like a Basuma or a Bentancur in a 6 at their best, at their peak, then you could afford maybe a Lo Celso and a Maddison interchanging in that position, because they actually do the work. They do press high. Even when we lose the ball, they do drop back into that, solid 4-4-2 block, when we try to frustrate teams at times. I think it can work, but I do agree with you, Ben. It depends on the team. Like, I wouldn't do that against a Man City, go fire for fire, because you might just get bun up. So yeah. I would prefer to do that against maybe a lower team in that lower half and see, like, if they are frustrating us, or not even if they're frustrating us, we just go guns blazing from the start, because you just never know. We might just turn them over, and then we might just keep them in that, pin them in that in their own half. And I feel like when we pin teams in their own half, we don't have players that take risks, if that makes sense, like to open teams up. So if you've got a creative 8 on your left and you've got a creative 8 on your right, they don't know what to do, because one guy's going to want to dribble, one guy's going to pass, but then one might do the reverse and vice versa, and we can pull teams out of position. So I'm all for it, and I'm hoping Ange's for it as well. I would love to see that amount of attacking football. So I want to see us just destroy teams, like go 4-5 and change the game again. Maybe it's attacking it, because I think Pep only changed it because he realized that you need to be a little bit more physical for this Premier League. So that's the reason why he went for more, like, you're not really seeing what's his name, Foden as an 8, and you're seeing like a Grealish, because I thought Grealish was going to be an 8 and he put him as a winger, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised. I thought they're going to have Grealish and Foden being the 2 8s, and even Silva, I've seen him drop back. He's not always played him as an attacking 8. Do you know what I'm saying? So sometimes he plays him out wide. It depends. So I want us to get to that stage where some of our players can play on the wing, some of them can play on the 8, and some of them can drop back in the double pivot. Like, I want us to be that fluid.
James, where do you sit on this one? Would you like to see that much of an attacking midfield with Kulusevski and Maddison playing alongside each other?
Yeah, I'd love to see it, 100%. I think it was Sheffield United when he dropped him first time into the middle, that to break that block for 1-1. And he was just incredible, wasn't he? Very instrumental. Yeah, I'd love to see it. As a fan, I think that's what you want to see. Do you know, I mean, we can go through all these, and you're all of you are absolutely right. And I even think about possibly we should look at a holding 6. But as a fan, what you want to see, 100%. That's a dream midfield, isn't it? With them players as well, and what they can unlock, I would love to see that on the tip. But you can't play that against probably Woolwich or City, the two probably teams you probably couldn't play that against. But that'd be so exciting to see, man. I mean, like, for me, Maddison's still a little bit off the boil, but I do agree that a lot of his defence work gets unnoticed, and it is quite incredible what he does there. But yeah, if you had that, like Kulu coming in, but then on the wings, I'm not sure if Johnson's quite there yet, really. So if Kulu does come in, who you got out there? I'd love to see us go and get Neto, to be honest, someone like that, and add him into the mix. That'd be amazing.
Can I add something?
Yeah. Go on.
It's going to be controversial, but I'm going to throw it out there.
Skip.
Ash,
you weren't saying that a month ago, Ash. I'll tell you that. You were not saying that a month ago.
I'm saying, do you reckon Son could be on the right wing, or is that a no-no?
Son on the right wing. I was saying this before to Sim. I was saying, I want to see the front three of Werner, Son, and Richarlison, and probably Sonny on the right and Werner on the left. But Sim thinks the other way around.
I think Werner on the right. The reason why is because I think when Sonny's on the left and he gets to the byline, he's got such a great left foot, right? That it can work, and he can whip a ball across the face of goal. I know Werner had a good assist with his left, but I don't think he's as good as left as Son. I think what Ange likes is his wingers getting to the byline and getting those cutbacks. I think if we're going to do that, I would much rather Son on the left and Werner on the right, because at least when Werner gets to the byline, he's on his strong foot rather than on his weaker foot. Whereas Son, even if he's on his weaker foot, is still very, very good. So that's why I would prefer Son on the left and Werner on the right. But what would you guys reckon?
About what you guys were saying before, though, about that fluidity, that interchangeable thing would be a dream.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
But going that and just moving across, and even didn't he have Richarlison on the wing at some point? Didn't he? I think he did.
He did. He did. He moved Sonny into the 9, and then Richarlison played on the left, didn't he?
That would be the answer for me. And I think Sonny's got the biggest conversion rate in the league, I think, for chances. So taking him away from the centre for too long, I don't know why we would do that. But I would like to see the fluidity of all.
I just, to add on to that, James, I'll put Son in the middle against the Highline team. I think he looks better. The high line, because he's got that pace in behind. I see Richarlison, as good as he's been, when he's trying to run for a ball, it's like that. No, that's not your skill set. Hey, calm.
I'll tell you what it is with Richarlison, though. The amount of times he wins that ball back is incredible. I haven't seen that done for the last 2 or 3 games. He really wants this now, doesn't he? And I think that appetite of winning the ball back has been incredible.
A lot of people, though, throwing shade at Brennan Johnson, and he's not cut it. He hasn't been cutting it the last month or so, 100%. But just cast your mind back to Richarlison last year. Nobody think he could hit a barn door.
Nah.
You know, he was terrible for the whole season last year. So people should bide their time with Brennan.
Definitely. What was Sonny's first season statistics? I don't think they would have been any good.
Not great either.
That first season wasn't great, was it? But yeah, I think the same. I didn't know a great deal about him, if I'm honest, until he came to us. Though I didn't watch him too many times at Forest. I knew he was fast. I knew he was good. The only thing I saw of him was when he booted Richarlison. That's the only time I kind of sort of saw it. But yeah, I do think definitely give him time, based on the fact that he's had a few really good moments. He wants it. He loves playing at this club. But yeah, I think there's going to be competition now, isn't there? We're bringing Werner in, which is great.
Healthy competition.
Do you think Johnson's better off the bench as opposed to starting?
As of now, yes. As of now, yes, because he's not playing well enough. And I think when you saw him come off the bench, you know, he made that run late at the far post, got that goal. And I think with coming on against tired legs, that pace is invaluable, isn't it? And he's got the attributes to be a proper super sub, in my opinion.
With Ash said about this, and he's right. I think with that, it's a certain player mentality, though, to be somebody who does sit on the bench, can be happy, and then come and explode. And like people like Richarlison, I don't think have really got that. But I think that is what you need more than anything, really. That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer super sub mentality kind of stuff.
Yeah, but again, I don't think he was come here to start week in, week out straight away, Brennan Johnson. I think he was a work in progress, and I think that Kulusevski had the shirt on the right-hand side, and injuries in the midfield and everywhere else kind of forced our hand to play Brennan Johnson, where he got shunted out to the left at times, on the right. And I think that you won't see the best of Brennan Johnson this season, and I think it's a work in progress, and you'll see it in the coming seasons, in my opinion.
I heard this as well. I don't know if it's true. I heard that I think the Brentford game, it was the first time that we'd won a game without Son and Kane for years. Is that
5 years? I think it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane, isn't it?
Yeah, it is insane.
That price tag kind of like blindsided a lot of people of the opinion that, you know, Johnson was going to be the main guy, because 50, was it? How much was
50
it?
million, yeah.
47.5.
7.5. Sorry, Sim. So yeah,
get it right, Ash. Come on.
2.5 million.
Hey, yeah. So 47. I think that price tag put maybe a little bit of pressure on him, changed the perception of the fans of what they thought he was brought in to be. And as you said, like, maybe he wasn't bought as a starter. Maybe he was bought for maybe an intention for once for the future. They really like him. Obviously, you have to pay Prem tax, and you have to pay the British tax as well. But if you took both of those things away, what is his true value? And
it's probably between 25 and 30 million, I would say.
Yeah, I would say closer to 25. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, if we paid 25 million and he was like Bernardinho, I don't know, like a foreign name, I don't know. Maybe then we wouldn't pay that money. The expectation would be so much, and we had a fully fit team. Then we would say, look, he's on the bench. We're not mad. You know, he's doing the job like what you guys are saying for us for now. And like, let's hope, because he's 22 years old. Everyone's like, oh, don't put his age into it. He's a big man. All right, bro, stay calm. Like that was, but yeah, maybe, like you lot were saying, give him a season to come, and he might improve. He might get better. A lot of people aren't rating his technique. They just look at his technique and think it's not that. I just think his decision making on where to be on the pitch affects him at times. I looked at where he was playing against Everton. Him and Porro were super close, and I felt like at times, if Porro's playing short, I need Johnson to be wide and high, and vice versa. If Johnson's coming short, then I kind of need Porro to be high and wide. And, you know, like I was talking about, that fluidity, they need to have that understanding. And also the movement off the ball, I feel like Johnson needs to do that out to in, if that makes sense. So he needs to fake go one way and then go the other way to kind of lose his marker. And then you've got space, and then players can see you, and then we can hit that pass into, because how many times have we put it into Johnson's path? Not that many. So that tells me maybe his movement isn't the greatest. Either that or the midfielders on the pitch, they just haven't got the IQ, or they're not seeing it. But yeah. I remember when KDB came back, and it was Newcastle at home versus City, and they interviewed him. They asked him, that pass, was it you that made the pass? And then Oscar Bob makes the run, or is it Oscar Bob makes the run and then you make the pass? He said, no, Oscar Bob's got to make the run. If Oscar Bob makes the run, then I make the pass. If he doesn't do that run, I'm not making that pass. So then I look at Brennan Johnson and I'm like, bro, you need to look maybe at your movement. Sometimes running that kind of pocket, the inside channel, sometimes pull wide, sometimes drop short, and then look at the in-game, how things are running in the team. If you're not seeing a lot of the ball, because sometimes you're like, why is Brennan not in the game? Well, that must mean that you're not in the right position for your teammates to see you, or you're not doing the right movements to lose your marker. In my opinion, that must be that, isn't it? Otherwise, like, why is he not getting the ball? Why is he not getting involved in the game? So for me, he needs to work on that. He's still a young lad. He needs coaching on that side, and he needs to watch himself back and study the videos where he has done well. Because there's been times when he's on the wing, he puts it on the floor, and Richarlison just is there to tap it in. He's done it 2 identical times. I think, I can't remember the games, but it was 2 identical times, and he's put it across the box.
Bournemouth and Everton.
That's it. And he's just, so that's what he needs to look at that video again and just study those movements and think, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's what I need to get back to, in my opinion.
You know what? I think you're right with the elements of making the runs from Brennan Johnson. But however, you do see Werner making those runs and him not being picked up consistently time and time again.
Oh, there you go.
You do.
And just to add to that as well, sorry to cut you. I like when players run across the fullback. Do you know what I'm saying? When you run across the fullback, when you do that angle and you run it, that the only thing left to do is shoot. I haven't seen him take enough shots, in my opinion, to like test the keeper, get on the end of things. And sometimes, if it's not his first touch that lets him down, it's his second touch. Do you know what I mean? He might have a great first touch and then second touch overhits it, or it's vice versa, the other way around. So he just needs to calm it down in his mind, because for me, that just screams out nerves and confidence. Calm it down, slow it down in your mind, and that's how you become ruthless, and that's how you become a killer. I think he's rushing it too much, in my opinion.
But also, a lot of the time, the elements with Brennan Johnson, he just needs more confidence in his own ability and his own strengths, because you see him, especially in that Everton game. I was sitting right there on that side where Brennan was, where the away fans obviously were. And he got the ball so many times in good areas where he was isolated one-on-one with his fullback. And every single time he checked back, either lost the ball or passed it backwards. And he needs confidence to take that ball and attack his fullback, go past him, knock it past him and run around the outside. He's got that ability. So I don't know why he doesn't use it. It really is frustrating at times.
And thing on that, isn't that's Ange's philosophy as well. He says to these players, he says, go for it. If you lose the ball, it's on me. You go for it, go for the attack. That's part of his philosophy, isn't it? So that's a little bit concern. It would obviously jump some of that into Brennan Johnson as well. But I think you're right. There's too much shade thrown his way, and definitely give him some time.
Absolutely.